Three Galway guys as well. Dahi Burke, Davy Burke and Joe Canning as well.
That's obviously the place to start, isn't it?
Joe Canning.
Number 8, Joe Canning.
Yeah.
Why do you hate Joe Canning so much?
Wow. He's in my top 10. Surely that means I think he's a really good player.
Did you put that in so that we wouldn't give you shit for leaving him out?
No, like, okay, so there's this thing where at times I've said
He spent the whole year slagging off Joe Canning last year
is unbelievably
on our podcast,
unfair.
and then he was hurler of the year.
Wow, that's very reductive of the
how it
amount of
happens.
time I put into explaining that. There are games where he's been incredible for Galway, and there are games and big games where it hasn't quite worked out for him. And he is the focal point for an awful lot of the conversation after all these big games. Did he do well or did he do not? Like, for example, the 2016 Leinster final, he touched the ball 8 times in the whole game, and 4 of them were in his own half. And he was more or less not a factor in the game. And there have been other, like Tipperary in the semi-final, then he ended up getting injured, but he'd had a really, really quiet first half. And when you point those things out, people think you're attacking Joe Canning. I'm not. And now, so if we look at the All-Ireland semi-final against Tipperary this year, so he ends up hurler of the year. He should not have been hurler of the year. We all know that Jamie Barnes should have been hurler of the year. Grode McInerney was named hurler of the year by 9 Sunday game analysts. Like, he shouldn't have been nominated, realistically. But, so if you look at it in terms of how did things actually play out, All-Ireland semi-final, the end of the game, Joe Canning made the decisive moves. He got the last 5 points. He got that score at the end to win it.
Okay.
The big smile on his face, brilliant. All-Ireland final.
Hang on. No, because you're making the point that in the semi against Tip, he gets injured but has been quiet.
That's 2016.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But it's fair to say that he was relatively quiet for a portion of that game, but came good in the end. So you don't know that, like, you don't have to be brilliant in each 5-minute portion of a game to be the decisive player in a game. There's an ebb and flow, the kinetic energy.
Yeah, but you're hypothetical that maybe he could have been.
But writing him off after like 35 bad minutes and then getting injured, like clearly him going off had this massive psychological impact on the team as well, and they only lost by a point in the end.
I don't think it did actually, because Galway were actually the better team in that game, and when the whistle
didn't have their talisman who pulled it out of the fire for them in that semi-final in the exact same circumstances.
Look, I think he's an excellent player, don't get me wrong. Just there are a lot of big games over the years where maybe he hasn't delivered, and a lot of those would have been against Kilkenny. And just to finish off the point about this year, like, he was the decisive player in the All-Ireland semi-final against Tipperary. And then in the finals...
It proves to be their biggest game of the year.
Yeah. And in the first 15 minutes against Waterford in the final, I think there was 3 big scores that he was central to. So he started the game like a house on fire. Now, the rest of the game, Philip Mahoney decisively won that battle. So is it okay to be proportionate about it and say, yeah, I think he's an excellent, brilliant hurler. He's capable of things that other players aren't. And I see him as number 8. You don't automatically have to pick him at number 1.